So it's actually starting to get pretty good. We're in the book of Numbers. We're starting on chapter 11. It starts with the people complain. People complain. Does that sound familiar? People complaining. Story of my life. Actually, not just story of my life of people complaining, but me complaining. So the people more or less started to pretty much complain and cry out and pretty much get on Moses again, and I really feel for Moses. And one part in here kind of explains it a little bit better, that because you'll see Aaron and his wife and Moses, and Aaron and his wife go when Moses is getting older and start complaining, saying, what, is Moses the only one that could talk to God around here? Why ain't nobody else talking to God? Why can't nobody else talk to God? He starts getting a little bit upset. His wife, who's not a full Israelite, starts feeding them. You know how women do sometimes, and us men do. We feed each other. Come on. Wife starts getting a little heated. Boom, we feed that. We start getting a little heated. She feeds it too. Come on. Why is Moses always doing this, Aaron? What? He's better than you? Come on, Aaron. Let's go talk to him. But it said that, and it talked about Moses' faithfulness to God. Just remember when they first, I think it was Mount Sinai, when they first arrived, and Moses went up to the mountain to get the 10 commandments, or the commandments, right? And he comes down, and Aaron had built a golden calf. Ooh. God just saved you and part of the Red Sea. Took you from Egypt. Now you're going to go doubt him? People complaining. What we gave up in Egypt. Remember when we used to eat those fish? The cucumbers, the melons, the leech, the onions, garlic. Ooh. But now our strength is dried up, and there is nothing at all but manna. Just remember who's giving them the manna, y'all. Remember who's giving them the manna. God's providing that. They're in the middle of nowhere. There's nothing to eat. God provided them that. God's provided them not only that, God's provided them water to drink. God's provided them a place to set up camp. God's provided and provided and provided and provided and provided. Now, why the story's starting to get good? Why? Because towards the end of this, now we're getting into sending out the 12 spies. So first we complain, and then we always have a lack of faith. And that's what it always comes down to, is a lack of faith. They say it takes a mustard seed. A mustard seed. But we lack that because of our own understanding. Because of our own understanding. We could only understand what we've experienced. How can I even start to understand something that I have not experienced? I cannot even start to fathom it. Maybe some things that are really super simple, but when we start talking about parting the Red Seas and creating miracles, and I mean, a little bit of faith goes a long, long ways. The elders appointed to aid Moses is kind of the next part that it gets into. And pretty much what it breaks down and it's talking about is bearing some of the burden from the people and their complaining. And as they start gathering the elders and people start complaining, and they want some meat. The manna's not good enough. Jesus went into the desert for 40 days. And when he came out, he was hungry. He was tempted while he was there. They say that the 40 days represented the 40 years that the Israelites spent in the desert, in the wilderness. There's one part that really gets me at the end when I was reading this. That could have really changed everything. And I think a lot of us have the same choice every single day and the same option and the same opportunity. But the thing is, what are we going to do with it? Are we going to take advantage of it? Are we going to let it pass by us? So the next part is God giving them what they want. He takes the quail from the sea, takes a great wind, and have the quails pretty much surround the camp. Pretty much within a day's walk, they just filled. I mean, as far as you could look, as far as you could see. Those who gathered the leaves gathered 10. They spread them out for themselves all around camp. While the meat was yet between their teeth, before it was consumed, the anger of the Lord was kindled against the people. And the Lord struck down the people with a very great plague. Our own desires, our own temptations, our own wants, our own needs, our own self. Do we forget where God's taking us? Do we forget where God is taking us? The land of milk and honey. Think about this. Their faith is being tested all the way through. From the beginning when they were begging to get out of Egypt, to when he brought them out of Egypt, to when they started to complain about being brought out of Egypt, to being told about the promised land, being brought into the promised land, and now back to more complaining because they're about to go into the promised land. Keep that in mind. Where I'm reading down, it starts talking about the 12 spies going out. Miriam and Aaron opposed Moses. This is what I was just talking about. Miriam and Aaron spoke against Moses because of the Cushite woman who he had married. For he had married a Cushite woman. Pretty much God told them to come into the pillar. God came down in the presence of them, spoke to them, and when his presence left, they looked over at Miriam, and she was a leopard. And Moses started to beg, and Aaron started to beg and said, please, because of our sin, because we sin, don't punish us. Please don't punish us. And God said, if you spit in your father's face, would you not want them to set out of camp for at least 7 days? She spit in the father's face. Keep in mind, these people wanted what they had in Egypt, and he gave them some of it, right? And as soon as the ones who really thirsted for it really were complaining, pretty much the ones hyping everybody else up because they wanted it so much, because of their wants and their needs. He sent out a plague. Now, right in this next part, Miriam and Aaron go complaining to Moses about God right after he just sent out this plague. And we know who God is. The one who parted the Red Sea, the one who brought us from Egypt. With the audacity to sit here and start questioning what he does. Like if we know. I'm going to say it a million times. We could only understand what we've experienced. We could only even start to understand based off our experiences. We're not God. God knows everything because he created everything. When the cloud was removed from over the tent, behold, Miriam was lepers, like snow. And Aaron turned towards Miriam, and behold, she was lepers. And Aaron said to Moses, O my Lord, do not punish us because we have done foolishly and have sinned. Let her not be one as dead, whose flesh is half eaten away. It's funny how we do what we want to do, say what we want to say, until it gets real, huh? Now we want to apologize. Please, Lord, beg you, Lord, I beg you for your mercy, Lord, come on. Good Lord Almighty, please. What if we would have done a little due diligence before? What if we would have just said, you know what, we need to trust in him. Look at everything he's done. Moses is getting older, and his time, he will pass, and it will have to go to someone else. Now we get into the spies. 12 spies sent out. 12 spies. This is the part I said earlier that could have changed everything, you guys. Everything. Everything. Moses sent them to spy in the land of Canaan and said to them, go up into Negeb and go up into the hill country and see what the land is. Be of good courage and bring some of the fruit of the land. Now the time was the season of the first ripe grapes. Hold on to this, you guys. Hold on to this. 12 spies go out. Moses sends them out. Says, bring back some of the harvest. Let's see how good this milk and honey really is. God's promising it to us. Let's see what it is. They come back and they report. Into the 40 days they returned from spying out the land. And they came to Moses and Aaron and all the congregation of the people of Israel in the wilderness of Paran and Kadesh. They brought back the word. They showed them the fruit of the land and told him, we came into the land which you sent us. It flows with milk and honey. Woohoo! It was not a lie. God brought us all the way here, and there's the milk and honey. Keep in mind, he just brought you from Egypt. He just parted the Red Sea. He just took out all the Egyptians. Keep that in mind. He just did all this. Now, I'm reading it. It probably didn't happen as quick as what I'm reading it in these chapters. But the 10 spies start saying the people are too big. They're too strong. The enemy's too strong. We can't take them. We're weak. We don't even eat meat. We've been surviving off manna. How are we going to defeat them? They're giants. Giants of the land. But Caleb quieted the people before Moses and said, let's go up at once and occupy it. For we are well able to overcome it. Right there. Caleb quieted the people before Moses and said, let's go up at once and occupy it. Boom. 40 years would have been gone. The 40 years in the wilderness we talk about, this is the moment. This is when it's happening right now. This is what it all comes down to right here, right now. But Caleb quieted the people before Moses and said, "Let's go up at once and occupy it, for we are well able to overcome it." For we are well able to overcome it. He knew who was with him. He knew who they had. They had the Lord. They had God, the Creator, the Maker, the One, the only. They had God. He knew. But sometimes when you have 10 or 11 other people telling you something and telling you one thing, and only one person telling you the truth, sometimes it's easier to believe the 10 or the 11. Sometimes it's easier to believe the volume and the loudness. But remember, the lies always speak the loudest. The lies always speak the loudest. And I'm not talking about raising your voice. I'm talking about there was 12 of them that went out, and Caleb came back and was quieting them and saying, "Hey, let's go take it right now. We could get this. I know who my God is." That's the confidence you have to have. Even if the crowd of 100 or 200 or all the noise on social media is telling you something different, but you know in your heart what God's telling you. Go with what God's telling you, because that's the truth. That is the truth. Everything could have changed right there. We spent 40 years and it waited till everybody in that generation had died before we were able to go in the promised land. And the time it was the promised land, that's 40 years later. 40 years later. That's not just a couple days, a couple months. It's 40 years. 40 years because of it. What's God telling you guys to do? What's God putting on your heart? What's His promise to you that you know is the promise to you, but you're just not going and grabbing it? What is that? Deep down inside, you guys know what it is. And if not, ask God and He will reveal it to you. He's not a God of confusion. Maybe He just gives you a part of it, a piece of it. Maybe He shows you what it's going to be at the end, but sometimes going through it is a little bit different. It's like building a house. You start with a pile of dirt. Put down the foundation. Frame up the walls. Interior, exterior, roof. Then you start all the finish work. What's God wanting you to do? Because sometimes He gives you a dream and we look at it and we think it's so big that, hey, this can never be me. But keep in mind, it starts one step at a time. It's not a big giant leap, but it does take a leap of faith. A mustard seed. A mustard seed, think of it. That's what we've lacked throughout all these generations, is a mustard seed. Right there, us not going into the promised land, we did not have a mustard seed worth of faith, except Caleb. We didn't have a mustard seed worth of faith.